Photoshop needed Nano Banana. Photoshop has got Nano Banana. But the more important question is, does Nano Banana need Photoshop? Because the answer to that question will determine if in late 2025 and beyond, you need to pay for Photoshop or not. To answer this question, we'll be looking at a lot of different examples, but not just any examples. The ones that clearly demonstrate the unique strengths of Photoshop when compared to the other platforms that also offer Nano Banana. These advantages stem from the fact that Photoshop is a full-fledged image editing software, arguably the number one of our time, whereas the other platforms that offer Nano Banana simply offer a very basic interface where you can upload an image and write in a prompt. One of the main strengths of Photoshop is that it's a layer-based editing software. This allows for a non-destructive and a flexible workflow, something that is simply not possible in any other Nano Banana platform. Because it's layer-based, you can also mix these layers together, put them on top of each other, and form great-looking composites as you're going to see in the examples that I'm going to be showing you. Photoshop also has a plethora of selection tools that allows you to localize your editing when it comes to using Nano Banana and only work on a certain part of an image. And as mentioned before, Photoshop is a robust image editing tool, so you can also use the built-in tools it has to go well beyond than what just Nano Banana can offer by integrating all these into your workflow too. We will of course be looking at different examples which demonstrate all these strengths, but at the end we will also be discussing whether all this is worth paying for Photoshop or not. So let's get started with our first example, which is going to be a very simple one because we'll also use it to understand some of the basics of using Nano Banana inside Photoshop. So let's get started. So this is going to be our first example, but before we get started, some important things. First of all, Nano Banana right now is not available inside the main Photoshop app. It is available inside Photoshop Beta. So if you already are a Creative Cloud subscriber and you are subscribed to one of the plans that includes Photoshop, then you can go and open up your Creative Cloud desktop app and just make sure you go under Apps here. Select Beta and you will be able to download Photoshop Beta. Now, what if you are not a subscriber? Well, in that case, I've got a link for you, which is for a 7-day trial for Photoshop, where again, once you use this link, you will be directed to download the Creative Cloud app. You can again open it just like the way I showed you and then install this on your computer. You will then be able to test out everything completely for free for 7 days. As always, the links to download all the images that we will be seeing in these examples is also in the description. Now let's get started. So once you open up the image inside Photoshop, how it works is slightly different from the other platforms where you simply upload the image and you type in a prompt. We do something similar here. There's just one more step. So after you opened up the image, you will need an active selection before the prompt box can open up. And how you do that is either you can take any of these basic tools like the rectangular selection tool and just select the whole photograph like this. Or if right now I just want to get rid of this, I can hold down Control Command D, which stands for deselect. And then what you can do is you can just hold down Control or Command A, which is the usual shortcut for select all, and that will automatically just select the entire photo. We'll also be later on seeing that we can use this same feature of selections to work on smaller parts of the photograph, but that will come on later. The moment we get this active selection, you can see that we now have this contextual taskbar where if I just hit this generative fill button, we can type in our prompt. If by any chance you're not seeing this bar, you can always go onto the window menu and you can just make sure that contextual taskbar is checked. Also, one important thing, now we have multiple models here. Earlier on, it was only Firefly in generative fill, but now we can also select Flux Context Pro. And here it is, Gemini 2.5, which is Nano Banana. This is what you will be selecting. If it shows you anything, you can just hit OK. And now we are all set to type in our first prompt. So for this first example, let's keep things very, very simple. Let's do things which you can pretty much do in any other Nano Banana platform. So I'm just going to type in a basic prompt here. Mural on the entire wall. Let's run this. And the moment you hit the generate button, you're going to see this properties window come up here, which will show you your variations. But when you're using Nano Banana, you actually only get one variation, which is different from what used to happen in the default Firefly model where you used to get 4. But that's not such a big problem because Nano Banana usually gives out very good results. You don't even need too many variations. You can see here, this is exactly what I'm talking about because this looks absolutely amazing and real. But if you look at this example, we've not done anything which we can't do in other platforms. There, we would have simply uploaded this image, typed in the same prompt, and we would have got a similar result. But from now onwards, let's start to make things more interesting and challenging. So let's say that I want a yellow umbrella which is just lying on the ground here. Well, again, just for practice, Control Command A. We're working on the entire image and just type in a simple prompt. Yellow color open umbrella lying on the ground. Let's see the result. And you can see that, yeah, its positioning may not be perfect, but it is a yellow umbrella which is lying on the ground and it looks extremely real. So you can see this has worked out to be fine. Again, this is something that you could have easily done by downloading the image and then uploading it again in any other platform, then typing in a prompt. Now, if you just talk about that, that itself is an advantage of a layer-based software, that we did not even have to do that, right? We simply continued with our workflow. We didn't download anything. We didn't upload anything. Just made the selection, typed in a prompt. But that is an insignificant advantage. Let's look at some significant ones. What if we wanted this umbrella to not just be anywhere on the ground, but only on this part, on the left side here? Well, what I can do here is, let's just get rid of this. So I'm just going to drag this towards the bin. And let's do this again. But this time, instead of selecting the whole image, what we can do is we can take our selection tool again and then exactly draw this selection over the area where we want the umbrella to come. And now that we have it, we again get our contextual taskbar. So let's type in the same thing. Let's hit generate. And this time you're going to see that it's going to come within this area. And you can see that this time we've got the umbrella right where we want it. Now, yes, this is the magic of selections, but again, this is one of those things which can be replicated in the other platforms. It's just that you can't do it with this ease, because there also you can use annotations to do this. In fact, we will be seeing some annotation examples later on in this very video. But right now, I want you to be aware about one thing, which is that whenever you use these selections for these localized edits, you should always double check the area around the edges of that selection. So let me show you what I mean. If I just enable the selection again, we can see, yes, this is where exactly it ended. Now, if I zoom in here, you can actually see, even though you were not able to notice this from farther out, if I just disable this, keep your eyes right here. And you can see that you'll easily be able to notice that this is not blending in well. The solution to this is very, very simple. Simply use a selection tool where you can use a softer edge. And one of those selection tools is this selection brush tool. So what we can do is, just to show you how this works, I can just get rid of this umbrella layer. And now, just choose a smaller size. How this tool works is, instead of dragging your selection, you can just paint, and what you're actually seeing, this overlay, is nothing but a selection. For example, if I've done this, if I switch back to any of the selection tools like the lasso tool, just show us the selection. It's just a different way of visualizing it. But what happens is, since you're using a brush here, then you can change, first of all, the size of the brush from the properties here, but also the hardness. So if you set the hardness to 0, then the edges are really, really soft. So if I just draw this entire area again, where I wanted the umbrella, and let's type in the same prompt. And this time, the result is definitely going to blend in much better. All right, so again, we've got our umbrella. If I just open up the selection right here, if we go over these areas, this time, if I hide the selection, just keep your eye out on this area. You can see we can't really notice that same problem. That's because it's just blended in because of the soft edge. Do note, the more complex the background is, the tougher it is to achieve this, even if you're using a soft-edged selection, simply because Nano Banana is basically generating this entire image again, and chances of things going a bit wrong and it not blending in fully to the parts which are outside is still an issue. Let's also talk about some of the other advantages that were discussed before. So remember, this is a layer-based system. All the generations are neatly organized into different layers. So tomorrow, if I change my mind about one of them, I can simply toggle them off like this. And if I want, I can just keep just a part of it. And because I can go here and save it as a Photoshop document, tomorrow when I open this up, these layers are still going to be there for me if I change my mind again. So it just makes it very flexible and non-destructive. Let's also talk about the point of it integrating well with the built-in Photoshop tools out there. So again, let's take the example of whatever we did with the wall here. So let's say we wanted this original texture to come through, because right now it seems it's a bit hidden? Well, all I need to do is just go onto the layer and I can blend it in any way that I want by going over to blending options for that layer. And then just notice this. So we've got some sliders here and I can just blend it with the different layers. So see this. Now suddenly you start to see the texture and the mural just looks more faded. So the point is you can customize things any way that you want and you just have full control, which is not possible with other platforms out there. Let's go on to example number 2. This time let's see an example where we're going to form a composite from 2 images. So the first image is of this car here. We want to place this car right here on this track, and not just anywhere, right where my mouse is. Now imagine doing this on any other platform for Nano Banana, like let's say Google Gemini, AI Studio, Google Viz, Keller Marina. You'll have to upload both these images, but then you'll have to be very descriptive about your prompt, because if it has to be right here, you'll have to mention that, you'll have to describe the action and everything that you want, and even then you're not sure what you're going to get, right? But just see how easy this is inside Photoshop. I can go back to this image. First of all, let's get rid of the background here. So we only have the car remaining here. And that also can be done with a single click, because I can hit remove background here. And you can see that was so easy. I can use the move tool then to just drag this car onto this tab where this image is, and also just scale it to my liking and place it exactly where I want. So this time the whole process is very objective. So let's say I like this, I can just click on done and then do the same thing again. Control Command A to select the entire image. We get our area to write in a prompt. Let's write in a simple prompt here. This time our prompt is so simple because we really don't have to describe the other things. So car drifting on a dirt road, dirt flying around, like a typical action, auto action shot here. And let's hit generate and let's see the results. And wait for this, and you can see it just added all that perfectly. And now it feels like, yes, this car actually belonged right inside this image, exactly where we wanted it to be also. So again, if I just zoom in to get a better look, just see before, after. So this has also made compositing in Photoshop so easy, because this actually used to be one of the toughest things, because then you would have to manually draw the shadows, add all these things, but now it's almost a one-click process. Let's see our next example. For our next example, we have this product shot, and one of the things that was really difficult to do up till now was to change the very small text that you can see here. So if I was to use any other platform, upload this entire image and try to change any of this little text, it would be a big issue. However, with Photoshop, because I have selections, I can first of all zoom in, and then all I need to do is just select the area and type in the prompt. Change the text to vitamin PS. Now, most of the times this is going to work. However, remember, right now we've just given it a very isolated selection, so it may not get the context regarding the style of the text around it. So in case you ever do this and it doesn't work out, that means it changes the text but doesn't incorporate the style around it. Like right now, you can see here, it has done the job as far as the text is concerned, but it's not really taken into account the style. Then what you can do here is just undo this. And let's get rid of this selection. Just give it a slightly larger area like this. And then just repeat the process. So this time the prompt is change the text vitamin C to vitamin PS, because of course I have to exactly tell it what to change. So this time if I hit generate, it just gets the bigger picture and hopefully it'll be able to do the job now. All right, and you can see that that is extremely seamless, and to do something like this in the other platforms is going to be extremely challenging. Let's move to the next example. Before I go there, I just want to point out that if you are someone you want to learn all these basics of Photoshop so that you can take your Nano Banana results to the next level, then I've got the perfect course for you, which is called Master Photoshop in 2 hours. This is the fastest way to learn, because I've designed this course in such a way that even if you've never ever used Photoshop before, you get comfortable with everything by only learning about the most important things that really matter. I'll leave a link to this in the description. This is available via Udemy. Now let's continue. Let's also see an example where we start to notice some issues that you really need to know about when it comes to working with Nano Banana. So here we've got this low key portrait. Let's try to turn it into something brighter and high key. And the prompt here is going to be make the lighting on her face more even, diffused and brighter so it feels like it's coming out of a large softbox. Change the background to white. I've just made the selection of the entire image. Let's put it right here and let's hit generate and see the results. All right, and you can see that we've got a pretty decent result. Now the background is white, the lighting is more even. However, just see this. If I zoom in right here, this is the new layer with the changes. And just see, if I hide this and see the original, just notice the resolution. There's no match. That's because, remember, within the selection, a new image is being generated. This new image has a resolution of 1K. So basically on the longer edge, it's roughly about 1000 pixels, which is extremely small. So the larger the area that you select that is being worked upon, the more stretched the pixels are. And we've already seen that something similar also happens when you use Nano Banana in other platforms. So yes, whenever you're working on the entire image, you can't really solve this issue. But even in portraits, what you can do inside Photoshop is again to use selections in such a way that you can localize your edits and at least be able to work on smaller areas. For example, let's try to change something only on the eyes. So let's say we take our selection brush so that we can blend things well. We select this eye and let's say we say makeup around the eyes, or rather the eye here. Because now that it's so small, all these pixels are going to be packed within this area. So yes, even though the image is being generated again, this time when we'll zoom in, it'll still be sharp enough. All right, so you can see that has just added this very subtle makeup here. And if I right now zoom in, you'll actually notice two things. First, let's talk about the resolution. So this time it was a smaller area. Let's compare it to the original. So this is the original eye. This is the new eye. This time, can you see, it doesn't look pixelated. So that's the advantage of working in a smaller area. However, there is one problem with Nano Banana inside Photoshop, irrespective of whether you're working with a smaller area or you're working on the entire image, which is offset. That means your result slightly moves around. So just see this. This is an issue that Adobe have acknowledged, and they have said that in the future updates, this should be corrected. Let's move on to the next example. One of the problems with Nano Banana inside Photoshop is that there's no way to upload a reference picture, whereas in the other platforms, you can even upload multiple reference pictures and then just combine them together. Here, you just have to do it the other way around, where you take that image as a layer and then put it on top of the photograph and then write in the prompt, just like we did in the example where we put the sports car onto the track. So let's say in this particular example, we want this man to be sitting right here. So how do we do this? Well, we just get his headshot and put it on top of this picture as a separate layer. So I've just opened up this image here. Now I can just drag this and first of all, get it right here. Let's just make it slightly smaller. And then also, since I exactly want him to be sitting right here, this is where you can also easily inside Photoshop draw some annotations. For example, I can just open up, just get rid of this. I can open up a new layer on top of all this. This is layer 2 now. And on this layer, we can just start to draw something. For instance, I can take the brush tool here. Let's just make the size of this brush smaller and literally just draw like this. And we can also then use a text box here and type in the prompt right here. So this is another way by which you can exactly place your subject wherever you want. And you might ask, but why not just use the older selection method that we saw before and draw a selection here? We have seen that sometimes on the edges, it can still produce a bad looking result. So in case you're facing that problem, annotations is the way out. Now, that can be used in other platforms also, because of course, you can also use tools like Canva and Paint to draw this stuff on your image and do the same things in other platforms also. It's just that in Photoshop, all this is very convenient because all these drawing tools are also right here. Since we've done this, let's just do one more thing here. So I've also added the image of these pink heels. And again, I've done the same thing here. She's wearing these heels. And in the prompt, I've just written, edit the image according to the annotations that are drawn on the image. And now, if you just hit generate, most of the times you will get the desired results. Sometimes it can leave a bit of residue, especially if you have too many of these things drawn. Let's wait for this. Right, and you can see almost, because it still missed out on one shoe. So yes, sometimes that is an issue, but you can see when it comes to the man here, yeah, it did a pretty good job and it got rid of everything also. And of course, something like this, you can just do once again, and you'll get your result. So this is the way out currently till the time we see this reference image option being enabled again, because right now you can see that it is grayed out. We are hoping that in the next few updates, even within Photoshop beta, this should be enabled, and then these things won't be such a big problem. So is it all worth it? First of all, let's talk about the cost, because Adobe has a pretty complex pricing structure. Unfortunately, the money going out of your pocket is a relatively straightforward affair, so you have to be careful about it. Here, I've given you a very average figure, which is going to be $20 to $40 a month. A lot will depend on the degree of usage when it comes to using these AI features, because lately, Adobe is becoming like the other AI companies where there's going to be a base fee that you pay per month, but you'll also have to, in most of the cases, pay something extra if you're using these AI features a lot. So just be careful about that. Also, is it just hype? In my opinion, absolutely not. This is a very strong addition inside Photoshop, and if we were to sum everything up in one word, it can be control. When you're using Nano Banana inside Photoshop, you have the kind of control over the output which is just not possible in the other platforms out there. But is it worth for you? Well, this question can actually be answered by another question, which is, would you use this if it was completely free? And I think for most people, the answer is going to be yes. That means the only barrier here is the monthly fee involved in accessing Photoshop. So just ask yourself if paying $20 to $40 a month is worth for you when it comes to getting the benefit of using Nano Banana. If the answer is a positive one, you can sign up right now. There's no doubt that Photoshop has been on the ropes when it comes to the world of AI editing. And despite this crucial addition, given the criticism it has faced over its pricing, it still feels like an exaggeration to say that it has delivered a knockout punch of its own. It seems more like it's managed to hang on for another round. How many more can it last though? Only time will tell, because make no mistake, the threat of that AI knockout blow still looms large. In case this video packed a punch, do give it a like, and for more AI tutorials, make sure you subscribe, and I will see you next time.